G'day everyone, thanks for joining us. Today I have something a little different for you. I have 3 Sherman tanks in 28mm or 156 scale from Warlord Games. Now these are for the bolt action game, some of you would be aware of. And these are from a friend of mine who asked me to paint them up for him. So I thought, yeah, why not, I'll have a bit of fun. I thought I'd also kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I've got another young lad in Canada who's requesting politely that I do some Shermans for him, so I figured we'd get 3 done in one video and everyone's happy. Now these kits were already assembled by my friend. They're not an overly complex kit, they're fairly simple due to the fact that they're meant to be for tabletop gaming. And so he'd already pre-built them, and I'm just tidying up some of the imperfections from the sprues and little mold marks, things like that. There's a few little bits and pieces on the kit that need a bit of tidy up before we paint it. But all in all pretty simple, nothing really drastic that you need to be aware of. Some of you will know I often skip the primer coat portion, and I don't generally use a proper primer anyway. I'll just use a grey acrylic paint just to help show up the imperfections in the surface, and certainly found some this time, so it was well worth doing. Just masked them off, re-puttied them, sanded them back, and we're ready to go. Also a good time to point out that I'll be jumping between all 3 of the kits in this build, so you'll see the progression as a normal build, but you will notice that the turrets are different, the hulls are different. There are a few little bits and pieces that change along the way. It's just basically whichever part looked the best when it was filmed, I decided I'd put in there. It is all still in sequence though, so I'll still follow the normal build sequence. Having already done some basic highlighting with the dark yellow and the khaki drab, I'll come back over with a 50-50 mix, and this is really overdoing the highlighting a little bit. And it's not because of the miniatures, it's because when I do the gloss coat of clear, the paint will blend together a bit and we'll lose some of that effect. So it's just nice to have it a little bit overdone so that when you do the clear coat, it shows through nicely. Having already painted all of the road wheels with the NATO black, I then come back over with burnt umber. This is for the Model Air, but it brushes on fine. Burnt umber for all the track details, so all the tracks around the vehicles, any tracks on the vehicles. And this is just basically a base coat, so I'll be going over that a little later with another colour. This is just to help the other colour stand out a bit more. So I found some good photos online of vehicles and marking schemes, things like that. There was a lot of different things. One thing that stood out was a Firefly with blue lettering and numbering on it, and that looked quite good to me. So I thought, yep, we'll use the spare decals for that, get that up and done. Most of them, I didn't have a decal guide for placement, so most of them I either referenced photos or just went, you know what, that'll do. So all three models have been clear coated with the TS13 clear gloss from Tamiya. They've been left overnight to dry, make sure that cures properly. And that's just basically because on the next step I'm going to be pretty harsh to the surface of the model. So I'm going to be using enamels, I'll be using turpentine on the surface. I want to make sure that lacquer has really secured the decals down and is protecting the lower paint job. Just this part. I'm not going to be using oils. For some reason for the green tanks I just really prefer the enamel paints. But yeah, similar process. in this part you'll see me sort of over apply the enamel paint a little bit. I'm not real happy with the finish that I get, so I just remove it with a bit of turpentine on a cotton bud. You can use enamel thinners if you prefer, or odorless thinners, whatever. And that's the beauty of sealing the undercoat with the lacquer paints. You can work over it with the oils or the enamels and not affect the decals or the paint below. The advantage of doing 3 kits at once is I can show you stuff like this. So there's one of the turrets that's had the highlighting and the other one hasn't. And you can see the difference that it makes to the surface. It's subtle, but it really makes it pop. So here's one of the few areas I actually use the Tamiya black panel liner. Use it on the engine deck, use it here just to create a few shadows. I don't want to use too much of it because I'll basically just end up darkening the tank too much. It'll look too dark. So I'll stick to the brown and just use this in select areas. So one real difference you'll find between this and quite a few other kits is that a lot of the detail is already pre-molded onto the tank. So, I mean, there are exceptions to every rule, of course, but you find with this, the tow cables, all the tools, everything are already molded into the hull of the vehicle, so they can be hard to paint. A good tip for that is to come in from the side. So load your brush with the paint that you want to use, come in from the side and just go over the surface area. You can use washes and everything to give it a bit of depth later on. It makes it a lot easier to paint, and you won't get that overspill onto areas that where you don't want it. Now, some of you scale modelers that do larger scales would already know this technique of using a highly thinned Tamiya buff paint just to unify the surface. It works equally well on the smaller scales, I find, so definitely worth a crack. So you see here why I didn't paint all the detail on the lower hull to begin with. So I painted the road wheels, I painted the little return rolls at the top there that are all rubber, and I'm just using a wet brush, so I've just dabbed it in a bit of water and I'm using it to knock off some of the pigments that have been applied to the road wheels, just to give them a look that they're in use. I don't want them covered like the rest of the vehicle. And there we go, 3 Sherman tanks, 28mm or 156 scale, done and dusted. I had an absolute blast painting these. They were so much fun. Big thank you to my mate Daniel for providing these kits to me. Big thank you to Legendary Builder for getting on the back about painting some Shermans, mate. So I've got 3 of them here for you, buddy. I hope you like them. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, send a carrier pigeon, whatever. Any support's appreciated. Let me know what you think of these videos, and don't forget we do the monthly giveaways. So every month I announce a new scale model giveaway, and we announce who the winner is at the beginning of the month. So don't miss that. Yeah, thanks for watching.